let's solve the determinant of a 3 by 3 matrix. This is the example, but first I'm going to show you the generic solution. So basically, let's say the A12 here, the 1 represents the row 1, so row 1, and the 2 here represents the column. So basically column 2 and row 1. So we will have row 1 here, column 1, column 2, column 3. So this is the column 1, column 2, column 3. And we have row 1, row 2, row 3. Row 1, row 2, row 3. So when we solve the determinant, we will have 3 2 by 2 matrices. So the first step is to take row 1 and column 1. And you can see this creates a 2 by 2 matrix here. So basically we're gonna take the number which we took here, which was A11, and we're left with this. So you can type this out. This is what you're left with, and then you subtract, but this time you will use column 2 instead, which is this one, column 2, still row 1, always use the same row, and you will have A12, and the matrix, you will have the column with these numbers. So you're left with A21, A23, A31, and A33. Sorry, this was... Yeah, so that's what you're left with. And then you're gonna add. So first you subtract, then you add, and then you will use column 3 instead. So this column and this row. And then it's gonna be 1, 3 here. So the 2 by 2 matrix you see here, A21, A22, A31, A32. So it will look like this. And so now to solve each one of these, you're gonna have to take the diagonal here and subtract by the diagonal here. So you will multiply these two with each other and then subtract by the multiplication of these two and times the number you have here. So in this case we would have A11, and then we would have A22 here, this number, times A33, the diagonal here. So we could write like this. And then you're gonna subtract. You always subtract the second diagonal. So A32 times A23. So it would look like this. So let's say this has a number of 2 and this value is 4. Let's say this one is 1 and this one is 4. 1 times 4 is 4. And let's say this one is 2. We have 2 and 1. So 2 multiplied by 1 is 2. We're left with, since this value was 2, we will have 4 minus 2, which is basically 2 times 2, which would be 4. And then you repeat the process for these ones as well, but keep in mind that you have that you subtract here. So let's say this ends up being a negative number, it would be, yeah, you would see in the example, but it will be negative number times negative, which ends up being positive. So yeah, that's basically the generic solution, but you would repeat the process here, and the values that you end up with is the determinant. Yeah, let's solve the example. and I think it will clear up for you. Okay, now we're gonna solve the example here. So we're gonna use row 1, column 1 and row 1, and we're left with this number. Since this is number we take, we have 3, and then we're left with the 2 by 2 matrix, which is these 4 numbers here. And then you will subtract, and you will take the column 2, row 1 still, and then we have the value here, the number here, 3, and we're left with the matrix. You see these 4 numbers here. -2, 6, 1, 2. Then you add, and we will have column 3, row 1, column 3, and we're left with these 4 numbers here. So we have -2, since this number is -2, and the matrix -4, -2, 4, 1, 1. And now remember, we're going to calculate the diagonals. So for this, we have 3. We're going to take 4 times 2, the diagonal here, and then we're going to subtract the diagonal here, 1 times 6. So it's going to be 4 times 2, 8. Then you're going to subtract by 1 multiplied by 6, which is 6. So let's say this was a negative number, this would end up being positive. But now it's not, so yeah, and then we take -3 times, we have -2 times 2, which is -4. And then we're going to subtract by the multiplication here, which is 1 times 6, which is just 6. And again here, if this would be negative, we would end up with a positive number here. But now it's still not. And then we have -2 times 1, the diagonal here, which is -2. And then we're going to subtract by 1 times 4, which looks like this. And then we're just gonna calculate this, which is 3 times 2. 8 subtracted by 6 is 2, and then we have -3, -4, -6, which is -10. And then we have -2 times -2 subtracted by -4, -6. And then so we have 6 here, and negative -3 multiplied by -10 is +30. Then we have -2 times -6, which is +12, which is 48, which basically is the determinant of the 3 by 3 matrix here. So yeah, it's pretty easy. It's just time consuming, but yeah, I think you can solve this. Thanks for watching, and if this helped you, give it a thumbs up and comment something. Thank you.